Let's get started. Before we begin the session, let's do a quick recap what we learned yesterday because today is a continuous session, right? Yeah. So we started with benefits benefits of build tool. These are different types of build tools, right? So Maven is one out of them. Then we started with Maven installation. So there are two types of installations we discussed. One is standalone installation, where we usually don't do in a developer system these days, right? And another one is embedded installation. So this is what the mostly the developers will be using. And the next one is what we started. We started with creating a Maven project in Eclipse. While creating Maven project in Eclipse, we discussed few things. The first one is Arch type. Next one is group ID. Then the next one is artifact ID. Then the next one is architect group ID, artifact ID version. In version there are multiple types, right? Snapshot. Then release. Then GA. So when we are developing any application, then the version should be there, the snapshot. Then if it is ready for production, then release. Once we move the code to production, then it is GA. So this is how we usually maintain the versions. Then we started looking into form.xml. Then next we discussed about dependencies. Then we discussed about dependency, Maven dependency resolution, and how the dependencies are going to be resolved. So those we discussed. Then we uh, discussed about repositories. And there are three types of repositories. One is the local, every machine will have. And the next one is central. This is what we usually do in our personal laptop. And the next one is remote. So this is what we usually use in organizations. Okay, so then finally we learned about settings.xml. Actually, we didn't learn many things about settings.xml. We just understood the use case, right? Just understood the use case, why we need a settings.xml. So this is what we learned yesterday. Today we will cover the pending topics. Okay. So before we begin the session, there are a couple of questions I have. So my first very question, I said, right, in development environment, we no need to install Maven. Right, in development environment, for example, my mission is whatever I am using now is a development system. then I don't raise any explicit request to install the Maven. Then from where I can see which version of Maven I'm using. Any idea? Yesterday we saw, right? Um,
Eclipse.
yeah, in Eclipse, by default we will have a plugin installed, but that is fine. But still, I would like to know where exactly this Maven configuration is present in my Eclipse. To check that, go to Window, Perspective, sorry, not Perspective, Preferences, Window Preferences, then Maven, select the Maven. So this is the place where we will have the complete configuration with respect to the Eclipse I am using. So where exactly the installation is present? The installation is present here. So right now I am using Maven version of 3.6.3, which is embedded. So there is another option also available. If you don't like to use an embedded version, you can use a standalone installation version. But most probably we don't need. We don't need uh, this. In very rare cases, we go for a Maven specific version. Then you have to uncheck this and you have to check this and you have to go and select the exact path where you install the Maven. Okay, so along with that, yeah. So where exactly the settings are present for my system, for my machine, right? Where exactly the settings.xml is present. So here it is. So the settings.xml is going to present here. So by defaultly, what is a local repository? This is one. Right? In your Eclipse, whatever the Eclipse workspace you are using. So if you would like to change or if you would like to have a different local repository, then you can change it here. Okay, but the change whatever you're going to do here, that will work only for the current workspace. If you switch to another workspace, then the change will not be having whatever the change we're going to do here, that change will, it won't be there in the new workspace. So whatever we are doing in this workspace will have impact only to this particular workspace. Okay. So most of the times we don't use settings.xml file, but sometimes we may need to use. So let's open the settings.xml and see what are the components are. So usually we will keep settings.xml file in our .m2 folder, right? In under users folder in your user ID. So instead of Sunil Kumar, this is going to be your user ID in your system. Then the .2 is going to be same, .m2 is going to be same. So here we will keep the setting.xml. So this is the default location. Most of the times we follow default settings and default configuration, default naming convention for Maven, because we don't get much benefit doing the customization. So this is how it looks like. So the default settings.xml file. I think I don't have much information. So let's go to Google and open settings.xml. Go to Apache site. Yeah. So these are all the things we can do with the settings.xml. Okay. Here is the place where you can change your local repository. As I said yesterday, if you do any changes in settings.xml file, that will give impact to the all the projects which we are using in your local. So just before we discuss, right, if you do changes in your Eclipse preferences section, Eclipse window preferences, Maven user settings, and if you do the change, this change will impact only the current workspace. But if you modify the settings.xml file, that will give impact to all the applications, all the Maven applications. Okay, and here is the place where we usually configure our uh, repository, remote repository information. So if you do the configuration in server section, under server section, then that will work for all the applications which are running under your machine. Okay. Yeah. So plugin group, if you want to change, you can change, and which proxy is it? The proxy? Is it? This is the server information. Okay. mirror proxy. If you want to have some proxy, then we will configure here. Not profile, properties. Yeah, this is the common properties. Repositories, yes. So here is the place we configure, not the server, sorry, repositories. Okay, so here is the place we will configure our remote repository. So if you configure something here in the settings.xml file, that will work for all the application, that will work for all the applications which are under running on my machine. So if I don't like this repository, for example, for a particular project I want to connect to a different repository, then in that particular form.xml file you go and add the repositories section. So for this particular project alone, the dependencies will be downloaded from a uh, different remote repository instead of downloading it from the common repository. Okay, so this is how the settings.xml file looks like. It is such a big file, like it may contain like 200, more than 100 lines of configuration, but that is going to be a global configuration. Okay, so that is what they use with the settings.xml file. Yeah. So today we're going to learn what are all the folders which we need to focus whenever we are working with a Maven project. Okay. So by defaultly, whenever you create any Maven project, yesterday we are talking about, right? How can I say which project I'm going to create?
Archetype.
Exactly. So Arch type will going to take the decision what type of application we are going to create, right? So what type of arch you select while creating your Maven project, it doesn't matter. By defaultly, there are 4 folders will be created with respect to Java. Right? There are some arch type which will create .NET project or some other project. I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about with respect to Java. These are all the 4 folders will automatically create. Okay, and if there is some problem which it can't able to create, for example Maven cannot able to create these folders, then we have to create them manually. So the expectation is Maven has to create these folders by default. If Maven couldn't able to create due to some network problems, right? Yesterday when I create a project, I was facing some issue, right? What was that? My antivirus is blocking downloading few libraries, right? So in whenever we are working in any company, we may have the same kind of problem, right? We have so many firewalls, so many filters, right? So we cannot expect that okay, these things will work all the time. So yesterday, before creating the project and after creating the project, there are few differences that happened, right? I mean, before I mean, when the antivirus got enabled in my system and when I disabled the antivirus, there was a slight difference. So similarly, so we cannot expect all the time these folders will get created. By default, it's supposed to create. Actually, it will create, but due to some security reasons and network firewalls, Maven could not be able to create all the folders. So at the time, as a developer, we should create these folders. Okay. So whenever you are writing any Maven project, so you have to keep all your application related Java files under src main Java. Okay. So this is going to be our source folder, main source folder. Okay. And if you are using any configuration, for example, you are using some properties file or some XSDs or some YAML configuration, right? So any configuration except Java code, any configuration except the Java code should present inside src main resources. So this is going to be our source configuration according to. Then we also have src test Java. So here we have to keep our all JUnit test cases. It can be a JUnit test case or it can be um, an integration test case. It doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter what test cases we are writing, but at last what we have to remember, whatever the test cases we are writing, those are all will present inside SRC test Java. So to run any test configuration, right? For example, whenever you are running a test cases, right? Whenever you are running a test case, you may need to pass some configuration. You may need to pass some configuration. So the test case related configuration should present inside SRC test resources. So whenever the Maven is running the JUnit test cases, it will pick the configuration from SRC test resources, not from SRC main resources. So this is going to be the test configuration. Okay. So apart from this, there is another folder which we have to know, that is a target folder. So it should be small. Yeah. So here are the output files will present. Okay. All the output files. Okay. Can you answer me this question? For example, I'm not creating a Maven project. I'm creating a simple Java project, a very simple Java project, right? As we know already, all the Java files will all automatically compiled and will be converted into .last file. So where exactly those .last files will be present in a simple Java project?
In bin.
So Madhu saying it's in bin folder. Is that true?
In target,
Pardon?
in target,
No,
in the
target
target
is
folder.
no target is for Maven. So whatever.
Okay.
So I'm asking without Maven. Okay, without Maven file. Without Maven project, if I go and create a very simple Java project, right? Yes, whatever Madhu said is correct. So by defaultly, all the .class files will be present inside a folder called bin. Okay, by defaultly. So here is the non-Maven project, right? So here we have only one folder, SRC. But if I go inside this folder, so there are a couple of other folders will be created. The first one is bin. Next we will have class path and project. So dot class path is for Eclipse to understand what is the class path of this project. Dot project is Eclipse configuration to load that project into Eclipse. So this bin folder we didn't create, right? So this is going to be created automatically by Eclipse, and all the files, whatever are there inside SRC, all the Java files will be compiled and the .class files will be generated and those will be kept inside the bin folder. So this is the default project structure, right? Default non-Maven project. So when it is coming to Maven, so similarly, how we have a bin folder, we also have a target. So here is the place all the output files. So when I said all the output files, it contains dot class files. Okay, it contains a final output. If you are creating a jar file or var file, right? That jar file or var file or AR file is going to present inside this target folder. And if you generate any Java files from XSP, those also will present inside um, target folder. So converting or generating Java files from XSD, we usually call resource generation. Resource generation, right? If you do any resource generation, those resources also will present inside target. So target is going to be the output, right? Target folder is an output. Okay. So any kind of output by default will present inside a target. Okay, you can ask, right, why it is a target? Can I able to change? Yes, you can change, but to do that you have to do a customization of Maven. Okay, Maven, there are few plugins will be available, but it is not required, right? We don't get any benefit of changing the folder. That is the reason why most of the times, like 99% of the times in Maven, still the customization is available. We don't go with the customization, we go with the default configuration. Okay, so this is the folder structure for Maven. So when you create a web application, right? Whatever we are discussing, it is for a simple Java application, or it is for microservices also. Whatever I selected, it is for microservices also. But sometimes you create a non-microservice application, or sometimes you keep some JSP files in your project, right? By that time, you have to create some web application. To create web application, we will have one more folder, right? Along how we have SRC main Java, SRC main resources. Similarly, we also have one more folder called web app. But these days, now no one is creating the web application. Okay, so inside this web app, I will show one example. Um, we have Maven project for servlet application. That time I will show. Okay, so inside this web app, we have to create some web hyphen INF folder. Inside this web INF, we will keep web.xml file. Anyway, that is a different story. Okay, so if you create any web application, then you for that you need to you need to select the web app arch type. Okay, for example, Apache web app arch type, but now it almost kind of deprecated. Now everybody is developing, everybody is using Java for services, not for web application development, right? So that is the reason why now web app creation become almost like kind of deprecation. Okay, so every time you create any Java project, make sure all these folders are present. Sometimes this test and resources folders may not present, but that is fine. But these two, make sure these two folders are compulsory present. SRC main Java, SRC resources. And how Eclipse is going to understand, right? For example, okay, Maven can understand SRC main Java is my source folder. SRC main resource is my source folder. SRC test Java is source folder. SRC test resources is the source folder. But how Eclipse is going to understand, because there is no relationship between Maven and Eclipse, right? It's just a plugin. In terms of Eclipse, Maven is a simple plugin. That's it. Then how Eclipse is going to compile the files which are present inside SRC main Java. I will tell you, most of the developers will do a common mistake just because of uh, like not knowing this feature. We know, everybody knows, but we don't consider like it is that much important. Okay, so every project Eclipse will maintain, for every Java project Eclipse will maintain an option build path, right? Eclipse will maintain an option called build path. In build path, there is a tab called source, right? There is a tab called source. Under source, whatever the folders are selected, SRC main Java, SRC main resources, SRC test Java, SRC test resources, right? All these files or all these folders which are present inside these folders, subfolders, files will be considered as source, right? Will be considered as source. So whatever the files or folders whichever present inside these folders will automatically compile when you check build automatically option. Okay, so how we are working with a simple Java application? Are we doing any manual compilation while running the program? No, right? We are simply modifying the code, saving and running. Right? We are not doing a process of converting a Java file into a data class file, right? So every time I do a modification, so I do some change, save this and run this, right? So who is going to compile my Java file?
IDE, Eclipse.
Eclipse, right? Just because of this build automatically. The same concept is applicable for Maven project also. Every time you do a change in your file and do a save, automatically that file will be compiled and the latest version of .class file will be available. But make sure you check this option. So when that feature is available, you can run your application directly, right? This is a very important thing which we have to remember, because not now, but the sometimes what usually the developers will do, whenever they are working in a Spring project or microservices, for every small change they do, they go and build the application, right? They do run as Maven, some blah blah blah, they do it. It is not necessary until unless you are working on an IDE, because IDE will automatically build your project, right? So to test a small thing, you don't need to waste your time on building your application. So when you have to build your application, when you want to run that project explicitly, for example, you want to create a jar file, WAR file, and you want to deploy that jar file, WAR file in a separate, uh, on a separate running server, then only you have to do that. Or to check whether is there any compilation error is present in my project, right? For example, before pushing the code into Git or ClearCase or some other SCM, so you want to make sure all the Java files are fine, right? Otherwise, what will happen? Your Jenkins build pipeline will fail. So just before pushing the code, you can do, you can just run your Maven Go, but to test locally, it is not. Okay, so that you can save lot of time. Okay, Maven also a simple project in terms of a simple Java project in terms of Eclipse, but instead of maintaining the dependencies by ourselves, Maven will do that. Okay, Maven will do that. So whenever you do a change, or whenever you save any file which is inside this class path, okay, inside the class path, then automatically the latest version of .class file will be present inside your target, inside your target. So we no need to build project every time you do a change. Okay, so Eclipse will do for us automatically. And go inside target folder. Okay, so all these classes are present. All those Eclipse auto-generated files will present inside classes folder. Okay, so all the Java files will present inside classes folder. All the test JUnit class files will present inside test type classes. So here is the place all the uh, compiled Java files will present class files which are now. Okay. So this is one very important thing we have to remember, so that we can save a couple of minutes in day-to-day work. Okay, and sometimes what will happen, Eclipse, we may use a different version of Eclipse, and sometimes Eclipse may not update. For example, it won't have this SRC main resources, or sometimes it won't have SRC test resources. So when that path is not present inside your source folder, but still you are expecting, for example, you wrote some JUnit and you wrote some configuration, and you are expecting that it is not working. So, but before that, you make sure all the folders, right? SRC main Java, SRC test Java, SRC main resources, SRC test resources are present inside source folder. If something is missing, you go and add that folder. Okay, something is missing, you go and add that folder. So why I'm explaining again and again, because this one thing I'm going to use whenever we're going to develop SOAP web services using Spring Boot. Okay, so that time what will happen, we generate some Java files. Those Java files will present inside target folder. Okay, those Java files will present inside target folder, but I can start using them inside SRC main Java. So obviously my compiler will show an error, because compiler can't identify those generated files. That time, to resolve those compilation errors, I have to manually go and add the folder which where the Java files are generated. Right? So by that time, we don't have to get confused. That's why I'm telling. Okay, let's come back. Okay, so here are these are the folders will automatically created by Maven, and these are all the source folders, and this is the output. Okay, so make sure you have at least the basic idea on this folder structure whenever we are working with Maven. Okay. And the next important topic is life cycle. Is it boring, guys? Everybody is silent.
No, Sunil.
No, Sunil.
Okay. So this is very important concept. You have to be focused for next to 5 to 10 minutes. Okay, folder structure is very easy concept. Like, okay, 4 folders, one output folder, right? Very high level. It's just matter of 30 seconds, 1 minute. It's fine. But when it is coming to life cycle, it is little complicated to understand. Okay, and it is a bit important thing also, right? So yeah. So whenever we are working with Maven, uh, it has few life cycles, right? So each 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 I mean part of each life cycle, Maven will do a different functionality as part of each life cycle. Okay. So the first one is the prepare resources. So as part of prepare resources, what Maven will do if you configure anything. So this is optional. Okay, we cannot guarantee that all the time prepare resources will exist. But this is useful whenever you generate any Java files from any existing. Okay, so the prepare resources will generate few files. So that is going to be the first life cycle. But this is going to be the optional. Cannot guarantee that always we generate the resources. Okay. And the next thing is validate. So validate, when I said validate, it won't validate our project actually. So Maven will validate the pom.xml file, right? So whatever the roadmap we provided, it will make sure that whether your pom.xml file is properly uh, written or not and properly configured or not. For example, yesterday we did one mistake, right? We added one .a, right? So this validation will fail as part of the second life cycle. If you do any kind of problem, right, that creates an error for your Maven. So that error will be identified as part of second life cycle. It is validated. That is valid. And if the pom.xml file is looks good, if the pom.xml file looks good, then it will do another life cycle which is not highlighted here. Okay, so whatever highlighted here, I took it from Apache, but it also internally does one more thing, that is clean. Okay, so here the Maven project one life cycle is missing, so that is clean. So when I said clean, what Maven will do, it will go and delete the target folder completely. So inside target folder, whatever the folders are present, okay, those all folders will be deleted. So classes folder, then if you create any jar file, var file, right, everything will be deleted. Which nothing but it will delete the complete target folder. Maven will delete the complete target folder. That is the life cycle, which is nothing but clean. Then after clean life cycle, Maven again creates a new target folder. A new target folder. Okay, so usually it is not going to be created by Maven. It is going to be created by Eclipse. Going to be created by Eclipse, but Maven will instruct you just create a folder called tab. Okay. So as part of clean life cycle, target folder will completely deleted and a new target folder will be created. Then the next life cycle, yeah.
Sunil, can you repeat the first one again? The resource preparedness. I did not understand the gist of it.
Yeah, so prepare resources is nothing but uh, it actually creates Java files. Okay, it actually creates the Java files, or it actually creates any few files. Like you can do any level of customization. So if you go to the deep, you can create any file, right? Any file creation or any files copy. You want to copy few files from one path to another path, right? Copying files. Okay.
Do you mean actually like coding? Do you actually mean like making the code changes?
Yes. Not
Okay,
you
so the
do.
developer,
You can't create. You can't go and modify the existing Java files, but you can create new Java files. You can copy not Java file, any file, right? You can create any file. You can copy few files from one folder to another folder, and you can delete few files, right? Before begin the process, or you want to ignore few files as part of your Maven life cycle, right? So all these
uh,
things can be
how are
done.
we doing that? No, how are we doing that? I'm still not understanding actually. Prepared.
We have a plugin actually for different requirements. We have different plugins. So Maven will go and execute that plugin. Okay, as part of that plugin execution, it will do the configuration whatever we do. Yesterday we saw one plugin, right? Spring Web Services.
Yes,
So which plugin we used?
yes.
JAXB2 Maven plugin.
Got
Why we used the JAXB2 Maven plugin? To generate few Java files from XSD, right? So when that is going to happen
Yes.
exactly? That is a part of prepare resources, right? Okay, that is going to be
Okay.
part
Got
of
it.
prepare resources.
Okay.
Yeah. So then the next one is compile. So compile is nothing but it will go and compile all the files which are present inside source folder. So when I said source folder, these four folders will be considered, right? Just now we discussed, right? These four folders are source folders: SRC main Java, SRC main resources, SRC test Java, SRC test resources. Okay, it will go and compile all the files which are inside that folder. If it is a Java file, it will compile and a new .class file will be created. If it is any configuration file, then that file will be copied as is. If it is an XML file, XML file will copy as is. If it is a properties file, properties file will copy as is. That's how the compilation happens. If your Java file is having any kind of error, then that will your life cycle will be stopped here, compilation stage. Okay, the error will be identified at compilation stage, and the flow will be stopped as part of compilation stage. Okay, once the compilation done, then it will run all the JUnits. Okay, once the compilation is done, it will run all the JUnits. So how this is going to identify what are all JUnits and what are all not JUnits? Just now we saw, right? Um, the .class files will be present inside classes folder, and test files will be present inside test-classes folder. So as part of test lifecycle, it will run the .class files which are present inside test-classes. Okay, then the next life cycle is packaging. So as part of packaging, Maven will create the final output file. For example, you configure to generate a jar file, then the jar file generation happens as part of package lifecycle. Here itself, the jar file will be created. If you write the configuration to create var file, then the same var file will be created as part of package. So package is nothing but packaging your project into an output. So either it can be a var, jar, er. It doesn't matter, right? So that's going to be final output. So that final output will get created as part of package lifecycle. Then next life cycle is install. Next life cycle is install. Okay. So in install, as part of install life cycle, what Maven will do, whatever the jar or var which got created in last life cycle. For example, you created a jar file called spring-boot-demo.jar. So this jar file will be copied into your local repository. So what is our local repository? if you are working in a if you are working on a Windows system, see users user ID, that is going to be your dynamic. Right? So that will change from system to system. Then dot m2 slash repository. So this is the local repository. Right? After the local repository, whatever the group ID you have given, for example, if I give from Spring Boot .msk. So for each dot separation, a new folder will create. From one folder, Spring another folder, Boot another folder, MSK is another folder. Right inside this, what is your artifact tag? My artifact tag is Spring Boot demo. Inside this, what is your version? 1.0.0 hyphen snapshot. Inside this file will be copied. So when we configure like this, the jar file looks like this. Okay, so this is my final output jar file. So here is the place the jar file will be copied. Okay, so whenever you do an installation, then the whatever the jar or var or ER which got created as part of last life cycle, that will be copied into your local repository, into your local machine. Okay, then the next life cycle is deploy. Okay, yesterday we were talking about central repository, remote repository, right? So as part of deploy, whatever the jar which got generated as part of package will be deployed in remote repository or central repository. We usually call it as artifact. Okay, so we usually call this as an artifact. So most of the companies use JFrog, right? Nexus. Okay, some. So here is the place where uh, the jar will be copied. So it will still follow the same folder structure: COM, Spring Boot, MSK, Spring Boot demo, and the version. Then finally the jar. So instead of local, it will have the remote. So when it's a remote, it starts with HTTPS or HTTP. Mostly it should be HTTPS. So your company domain. So something like ORG, Spring Framework, blah blah blah. And finally this. Okay. So these many things will happen in as part of one simple command execution. Okay, but when as a developer, whenever we are doing this life cycle goal run, we mostly go till install because most of the times we don't have an option for deploying in your local jar file into remote. Okay, that will give so many issues because we may test or we may not test, right? And we will always have our own changes, right? What about other developer changes? So so install is the command as a developer has to run. We're not supposed to do deploy. So the deploy has to be run from Jenkins. Okay, so when Jenkins runs, it will run a deploy job instead of install job. So install is the developer command. Deploy is a build manager or build tool command. Are we guys are clear? Any questions? Yeah.
If you run the deploy job in your local also because you also you not have connected, right? What happens if you do deploy?
We will get an error because most probably like 99 percentage you will not have access for remote repository like push access. You can download them, you may have read access, not have write access, right? So you will get an error.
Yeah, and one more thing.
Yeah.
So from this life cycle, once you install, all of the documents, compile, package.
Yes. Yeah, when I say in install, right, so it will run all the life cycle which are present like one to till install. So it will do clean, it will do compile, it will do package, it will do install. It will follow all the life cycles. It will execute all the life cycle codes. Okay. In between something we have test also, right? Compile then test. Okay. Yeah. Yesterday somebody is asking. We saw something like scope, right? We saw something like scope in the dependency. I think it's Jnana, right? So when I say scope test means my intention is the jar whatever I mention it. Yeah, the jar whatever I mention with the scope test. This has to be there till test lifecycle. I don't want to be there this jar file at package lifecycle or install lifecycle. So when you say scope, when you say scope and give a valid value, we can't give any random value. There are few allowed values. There are few values only we can enter. So for example, if you give test, then the jar file will present till running the test lifecycle. If you give scope compile or compiler, I don't remember the exact word. You can just check it on the Google. Okay. Compiler, then the jar file will present till compile lifecycle. Okay. Sometimes we will have a requirement, right? For local purpose, I want it. I want till uh, compiler. I want still test, but I don't want to present till package, right? When the final output jar file is going to create, at the time I want to skip a jar file which is going to be wrapped inside the var file or jar file, right? Then you have to mention scope provided, so that jar file won't be getting packaged in the final output. That will be skipped.
Sorry, can you tell it again for provided?
The jar file won't present inside your final output. For example, you are creating a var file, right? So whenever this var file is going to create it, at that time, this jar, whatever the jar you mentioned, scope provided, that won't be packaged inside. I hope you know the var file package structure, right?
Yeah.
So where exactly all the jar files will present inside your web app, sorry, not web app, WebANN lib folder, right? In web application, we usually have a folder called a lib. Inside this lib folder, all the output jar files will be present. So if you mention any dependency scope as provided, then that jar file, that corresponding jar file won't be packaged inside your WebANF lib. So this is somewhat legacy actually, using scope provided. Scope test is common thing, but scope provided is very legacy way of doing, because now no vars, everything is jar. With microservices, now everything is jar. But where few applications they are packaging their applications into var, there they will use scope provide. But with microservices, there is no use with this jar.
And if you're not giving anything, what will be the default? It will be compiler.
No, not compiler. It will present.
Okay, the default one. We are not given the scope.
It will get packaged.
Okay.
Okay. So to check that, we need to see what are all the allowed values, nav and scope for dependencies. No, it's Apache. Compile provided runtime test system import. Okay. Yeah, I know this runtime means it will be available till runtime. I think this is the default one. This is the scope indicates that the dependency is not required for compilation. Okay. But for execution, no, not this is not it.
No. Compile is default, Sunil.
Yeah, this is the default. If you don't mention, then it will be available for all the life cycles. If you don't mention the scope, it will be available for all the life cycles. Okay? So most of the times, the test jar files we will mention test, because we need those jar files till the test life cycle runs. This is what we mostly using in the microservices. The remaining all are we don't use. Okay, provided will be used in most of the web applications, but with microservices there are no web applications. Okay, so we don't play with the runtime system because those will create so many exceptions, right? So we don't play with those. Most probably we will use test alone in the microservices architecture. Okay, so this is all about lifecycle goal. And if you want to run any lifecycle goal and Maven project from Eclipse, you have to do like right click, run as, right? So here are the default lifecycle goals. Okay, so default clean, we have generate resources, we have install, we have test, we have. So, but we don't have package, but I want to run a package, right? So that time you can select option 3 or option 4, both are same. The only difference is if you select option 3, if you run any Maven lifecycle goal already, that will be picked automatically and it will run. It will run an existing lifecycle goal if it is present. If it is not present, it will show the pop-up, something like this. For example, I do like clean package. Okay, and if you want to skip the test cases run, you can skip. You can select this option. Okay. If you like feel sometimes the JUnit test cases may take lot of time, right? Sometimes the JUnit test cases may take lot of time. That time you can skip this. Something wrong with my on that. Let's do this. Yeah, so if I go and select an option run as option number 3, it won't show the pop-up again. It will run the last lifecycle directly. Whatever the option we selected, it will run as is. Okay, it run package, it run compile, it run resource copy. Okay, yeah. So this is how the life cycle runs. But if you go inside target folder, now the jar file also got created. Yeah. So, but when I choose an option number 4, it will always ask a new life cycle goal instead of picking it the last life cycle goal. If you choose a dot 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 option, what will happen? It will run. It will create a new life cycle. It will ask a new life cycle goal every time. Whereas the option number 3, it will run the last life cycle goal as is. But whereas the option number 4, it will select. It will create a new life cycle. Okay. And if you want to run a direct goal, select clean, generate, install. If you run install, it will perform all the life cycles. Okay. If you perform install, it will run all the life cycles. You don't need to mention anything like clean installer. Okay. If you are running from a Maven command prompt or any PowerShell, right, then you have to use MVN command. Okay, you have to use MVN command. For that, you have to install Maven explicitly, like standalone installation you have to do. Inside, once you install the Maven, we will have a folder called bin. Inside bin, we will have an executable file called MVN. Okay, so to identify this MVN by your operating system, you have to keep this in your system environment variables, right? System path you have to add this. In system environment variables path you have to add. When you want to, you don't want to run with Eclipse, you want to run from any command. Either you can add that in the system path or you can manually travel. For example, I install my Maven insert C like tools folder. And here is my Maven from bin.0.0/bin. Okay, you can travel till that path and you can give clean. So when we are working with Eclipse, the first part is completely optional because Eclipse will automatically pass this MVN command. But when we are trying to run that from a command prompt or a PowerShell, right, or a terminal, then you have to do all these steps. First install, either you have to set the path or you have to give the complete path of MVN command so that your OS will identify where exactly this MVN command is. When you set an path, your system will automatically identify that, okay, uh, this is the place where the MVN is present. If you don't add it in the path, then you have to give the full path and followed by the lifecycle goals. Clean install or clean package or direct install, anything is fine. Okay, so this is how the life cycles will be maintained. Any questions till now? Okay.
Maybe, while compiling any application, like sometimes we will use something -o also, or sometimes.
Now there are few options actually. So to print the logs in debug mode, we use -x, right? Some commands we can pass, or sometimes you use -o, like force download of dependencies. Yeah. So to know that, please go through the more in documentation. Okay. Yeah, there are few arguments you can pass, right? Maven arguments. Yeah. So there are so many options are available. You just go through all of these. So to debug, the most commonly used is -x, right? -o, work offline. You don't want to download the latest jar files, right? So then we do this. Yeah, there are so many options are available. So depends upon your requirement, you have to use the corresponding option.
Okay.
-u, it will update all the snapshots forcefully. Okay. Yeah. So these are all the arguments you can pass. Yeah, but anyway, thanks for asking. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. The next important thing which we need to discuss. Yeah. Any more questions before we jump into the next slide? So here is the thing which is going to happen with the Maven. So first it reads the pom.xml file and it downloads all the dependencies. Okay. Then it executes the lifecycle goals. Then execute the plugins. Then finally it will get shut down. Right. Again, it's a Maven is it's built on top of Java. So Maven will run again with threads. Okay, so there is a separate thread will create to execute your Maven lifecycle. So it will follow all the life cycles one by one. It reads the form, it downloads the dependencies, execute the lifecycle goals, then it will execute the plugins, then it will get shut. Yeah, the next very important thing which we have to understand is a parent form with respect to the microservices. I need your attention for a few more minutes. Very, 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 very important. Complete Spring Boot is built by using this feature. Okay. Yeah. So before we gonna discuss about Spring Boot or parent form, let's try to understand the problem. Why we exactly need this parent. Okay. Yeah. So are you guys are with me? Okay, shall I continue? I need yes from everybody.
Yes, Sunil.
Yes, Sunil.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So the main problem with the Maven till now, whatever we discussed is, for example, okay, I created a project called Core. I hope you know, right? What is the Core? Core we usually keep all the common files, right? For example, all the POJOs, all the utility files, all the common enums, right? So Core is a common project which can be used across all the modules. For example, right now we are developing a project called project for some e-commerce site. Okay. So when you develop an e-commerce site, you may write so many modules, right? In e-commerce, we have so many modules. We have profile. We usually have profile. We usually have shopping. We have cart. We have catalog, where we get the products. We have billing section, we have shipping section, right? We have delivery. There are so many modules we have. So instead of duplicating the code in all the modules, we will create a common module called core. There we will keep the common files and we will add the dependency in the all these projects. When I say module, each module is a separate Maven project. Okay, each module is a separate Maven project. Okay. So now let's understand in my for my project I have 100 project. Sorry, for my module, or when I say like project, right? For my project I have 100 modules. When I said 100 modules in terms, these are like sub projects, right? It is common thing in an average project. We have usually like 10 to 20 modules. If you go for big project, especially like Amazon, Flipkart, or some other e-commerce, 100 is very small in number, right? So if you develop a project something like this, like 100 modules, so how many pom.xml files we will have?
100.
100 pom.xml files. Yeah. Now tell me, to add this dependency in for every module, in how many files I should change? How many pom.xml files I should add?
100.
100. Today we are using a version called something like 1.14.0 some snapshot are released. Okay, that is fine. So this is the version we are using it. Okay, there are few issues we identified in this version and we fixed those issues and we upgraded the version saying that 1.15.0. Why I am saying the last 0, because in between we will have some other sub releases like 1.1.14.1, 14.2. That is completely like ignored, right? Point one, last point 1.2 is an ignore. The major version is 1.14, 1.15. So now I am telling, hey, I'm telling all the modules, right? Module owners to upgrade your core version to 1.1. So now, how many pom.xml files we need to modify? Again, all 100 we need to modify, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Tomorrow, right now we are working in a Java version 8. Okay. Okay, we got an alert saying that from our project higher management saying that Java 8 is poor in the performance wise. Let's upgrade to Java 9. Okay, we did. Okay, so now to do this change, again we need to modify all the 100 files. And all of a sudden, after 1 month, they came and they said, okay, upgrade to Java 10. Okay, again we will modify all these 100 files. Okay, after a couple of days, they said, okay, upgrade to Java 11. Again, we have to modify all these 100 files. Okay, all these 100. So when we are maintaining a separate configuration for file for each project, right? Doing these kind of enhancements become very difficult, right? We don't have any centralized configuration changes, right? I can't do one place, change in one place. It will go and impact to all the 100 pom.xml files. So we don't have such a kind of feature available, right? By default. So you can do it. There are some kind of customization you can do in your pom.xml file, right? So that you have, for that you have to write lots of code. You have to learn a lot of Maven features, right? So you have to spend a lot of time and you have to build one, you have to recruit one Maven expertise person in your project. And if all of a sudden he left the company, then there is some kind of dependency we are creating, right? So if you wanted to handle these kind of scenarios, we don't, and we can't easily handle these kind of scenarios. Okay, to handle all these kind of problems, okay, the new feature introduced by Maven called parent form. Okay, there is a new feature introduced Maven called parent POM. So what is this parent POM will do, you know? For example, right now I have 100 modules. Right now I have 100 modules where all the configuration, like for example, there are 10 dependencies or 20 dependencies which are common for all 100 uh, modules. What I will do, I will keep all these 20 dependencies in a POM, okay, in a single POM, and I will make that as a parent. Okay, I will make that as a parent POM. And all these 100 modules will inherit from this parent. All these 100 modules will inherit from this parent. So obviously, whatever the 20 dependencies which we defined inside this parent form through inheritance will available for all the 100 child modules. Okay, so not only dependencies, apart from dependencies, whatever the configuration you're gonna write a configuration for Java version, okay, and you're gonna write for some configuration for plugin. Right? All this configuration is by defaultly available for all the childs. Okay, so I'm just explaining theoretically how we're gonna do with the pom.xml file. We will see. Okay, how we're gonna do with the pom.xml file. We're gonna see. Okay, but the biggest benefit is with this approach. Tomorrow you want to upgrade your core version, you just go and modify your parent pom.xml file. One pom.xml file will impact all the childs. Will give an impact to all the childs. And tomorrow, today you are using Java 8, and tomorrow you want to upgrade it to Java 9. You don't need to modify all the 100 files. It's just a matter of changing one parent form. One parent form. So through this approach, we can easily maintain our modules. We can easily maintain our modules. And sometimes you don't like the parent configuration. Sometimes you don't like the parent configuration. Still you have an option to override. Still you have an option to override. Like how we have any inheritance in Java or some other technology, the same kind of concept applicable for Maven also. Okay. The complete Spring Boot project is built using this parent POM architecture. Okay. Complete Spring Boot is built using parent POM, and whenever we are going to work with Spring Boot, we usually use this parent architecture by default. Okay, so we will make our project as a child to Spring Boot, so that whatever the configuration is written in Spring Boot is defaultly available to our project. Okay, whatever the configuration is written in parent is defaultly available to our Spring Boot applications. Okay, so to create a parent project, what you have to do, you have to yeah, we are discussing, right, just a few minutes before, instead of giving a target jar, var, or er, sorry, er, the target should be of type form. What you have to do, instead of defining a target as jar or var or er, the target should be of type form. Okay, so this is going to be your parent form. For example, we created a project called spring parent. Okay, form. So here is the target is going to be the form instead of jar or var, and here we will write all the configuration. So we will write dependencies. There is nothing changed. Okay, however the form.xml file is looked till now, it's going to be the still same. So we will add dependencies, we will add plugins. Okay, still this is same. So in your child module, what you have to do, you have to add a new tag called parent. Your child form.xml file, you have to add a new tag called parent. Inside this parent, you have to give the group ID of your parent. Group ID, artifact ID, okay, version, and the relative part. The default tag can be given. So here is a group ID, whatever the group ID you have given for the parent, and whatever the artifact ID you have given for the parent, and what is the version you have given for the parent. Okay, let's see an example like Spring Boot application. So whenever you are writing your own Spring Boot application, every pom.xml file will have a tag called parent. Without parent also you can create, but that is not recommended. Most of the times we will make our application as a child to Spring Boot. Okay, so here is the group IDs: org Spring Framework boot, org Spring Framework boot, and the artifact ID is Spring Boot Starter Parent. Artifact ID is Spring Boot Starter Parent, and the version is 2.2.6 that release. So what version you want to use, it's going to be decided by your project architect or senior lead or somebody. Okay, most probably we always start with the latest version of Spring Boot. Okay, so now the latest most stabilized version is 2.2.6. That's why we are using this 2.2.6 that release. So now my project, my Spring Boot logging project, my Spring Boot logging project is became a child to Spring Boot, a child to Spring Boot. Okay, so now what we will do, we will go to GitHub and see what is the configuration they have written inside this. GitHub Spring Boot starter. Yeah, here is the place where the complete project is present. These people are using Gradle. I want Maven. Master. Yeah, here we go. Parent pom.xml. Spring Boot. We are under branch master 2.2.x. Yeah, we have MVN, see pom.xml. Okay, Spring Boot starter. Spring Boot starter parent. Spring Boot parent pom.xml. Okay, so this is how it looks like. This is how it looks like. They are using some other parent structure here. But if you are starting from the scratch, we will not have this parent in the parent module. Okay, we will not have this parent in the parent module. But yeah, so you can write all the configuration. You can have the dependencies whatever you want to have, and you can write the plugins. Okay, you can write plugins whatever you want. Okay, so whoever is going to become a child to your parent, right? Whoever is going to become a child to your project will automatically get this configuration. So look at this project in my pom.xml file, right? I made Spring Boot starter as my parent, Spring Boot starter as my parent, and I have added only two dependencies, only two. One is Spring Boot starter web, and another one is Spring Boot starter test, right? I have added only two dependencies. Let me expand this. How many dependencies are present inside my project Maven dependency section? There are around 20 to more than 20, I believe, right? So there are around 20 to 30 jars. There are around 20 to 30 jars. Right? All these jars will automatically download it. And whatever the required configuration, whatever the configuration is required, will automatically download it from the parent. Okay. So this is what use and benefit we are going to get with the parent. So from tomorrow, as we are going to start with Spring Boot, every Spring Boot project is going to have this parent tag. So by looking into this parent tag, don't get confused. It is another Maven project where we define the common configuration. Okay, common configuration. To avoid the configuration duplication, we usually use this pair. Okay, so this is the normal inheritance. This is normal inheritance. Whatever is there in the parent will automatically available for all the childs. Okay, so this is how we usually use the parent. Okay, so I'm not going to write this project. I will show anyway tomorrow, but I'm just giving an assignment. Okay, so write one project called parent. You can give any name. You can give any name, or you can give something like MSK-parent. You write a project MSK parent, and here you define the Java version 8, and add a few dependencies. For example, add uh, Commons collection, Apache Commons collection. Okay, add some plugin, compiler plugin, Maven compiler plugin, and inside this Maven plugin, compiler plugin, say the source is JDK 1.8 and the target is JDK 1.8. Okay, so this is going to be your parent form. That's it. In the child project, okay, make MSK parent. Write another project called MSK child. Okay, MSK child. In this MSK child form.xml file, in the MSK child form.xml file, make MSK parent as parent by using parent tag. Right, by using parent tag in run directly. Okay, start using common collection jar files directly without adding any dependency. So in my MSK child, I'm not adding any dependencies, but I'm gonna still use this commons collection jar. So from where I'm getting, I'm going to get from the parent. If you remove this parent tag, you will get compilation error. If you add the parent tag, the compilation error will go away. Okay, so this is an assignment for you guys. Try to run a parent form.xml file and create one child and use parent in the child and start using the dependencies libraries directly. Okay, just try this out. Anyway, I will show this tomorrow, but try from your end. This is going to be your assignment. I will send an email also, detailed email. What group ID you want to use and what artifact ID you want to use. Okay, and if required, I will share some links also for your reference. So that is all about parent. So usually we use parent for parent to avoid duplicate configuration. Okay, so that you can maintain your dependencies configuration in single place. Okay, so we also have multi-module project. We also have multi-module. In single project, you can create multiple projects, which is nothing but multi-module. Okay, Maven multi-module, but anyway with microservices we don't do this. For each microservice is a separate Maven project. Okay, each microservice is separate Maven project, so we don't use this multi-module architecture in microservice. So multi-module is nothing but we used to have something like this in the olden days. For example, if you wanna create a project called something banking, right? For example, banking. So in banking, this is going to be a module, bank module. In bank module, we have so many modules. Core, we have profile, Profile is one Maven project. Core is another Maven project. Okay, we have loans, another project. Online transaction, another module. Okay. So this is how we're gonna create modules. But when it is coming to microservices, we don't do this usually. Each module is a separate. Each module is a separate project. So let's create one multi-module project. New, other, Maven. Instead of selecting project, first you have to select module. Instead of selecting project, for very first time you have to select module. Click next. I want to give the no parent module. Yeah, no parent project. Module name is going to be bank. It is asking parent. Let me close all these projects. By new other Maven module next. Yeah. So module name is going to be bank hyphen module. Next. What type I want? I want a simple project, right? ORG Apache simple. Not this. ORG dot Apache. Maven architect simple. Next. Package this one. Whatever. Let me stop this antivirus for a few minutes. Portions of the website. Let me try to recreate. Close everything. File, new, other, Maven module next. So module name is bank icon module. Next. ORG dot Apache dot Maven.
Spell mistake.
Yeah, sorry. Maven architect simple. Next. Select font. I am not able to create. It is not showing any error or it's not showing any. Okay, you can just try this. Okay, so the module will be created automatically.
Maybe Maven project is required before the, sorry, Spring
No,
project is before module.
no. Maven is the starting. Sorry, module is the starting point when we are starting with the multi-module. Okay, module is the first thing. Okay, I will start with the project and we can convert that into module. Okay, next. And, org.apache.maven. So we have like, next artifact ID as sorry, the artifact ID should be bank module. Bank module. The group ID is a project structure that will not change. From string to dot MSK. So it's a domain and subdomain, right? Finish. To convert any project into a Maven project, what we can do, we can change the pom.xml file. Pom.xml file.
Or else we have an option for convert.
Yeah, we can convert. Okay, so you have to mention the type to pom. That's it. Just you need to change the. I don't remember the tag name. Uh, if you create it through this Eclipse, it will create automatically. Okay, so what I will do, I will delete this, restart my Eclipse. 1 second. Delete completely. No, this antivirus is blocking something. Let me stop the complete protection. The only change, instead of saying jar, var, or er, we just need to change it to a POM. So file new other Maven module next module name module. I cannot able to create the module. Let's create the project and convert into module. Project next org dot apache dot maven. So start with simple. This is the artifact ID and package is PAM and my group ID is subcom. If you open your pom.xml file, there is a tab called packaging. It is supposed to be POM. That's it. Okay, it's supposed to be POM. So when you mention it POM, it won't create any source or target. It won't create any folders. Okay, it's a plain folder with a pom.xml file. It is a simple folder with pom.xml. So inside this folder, you can create as many as projects you want. Okay, inside this folder, you can create as many as projects you want. Somehow I'm not able to create. Usually this looks like this. Maven multi module. Anyway, it's not that much important for us as we are gonna learn the microservices, but you must have an idea. Using modules. Let's go and open one example. This is my favorite. Okay. Yeah, see, this is how it looks like. The parent, the module is going to have nothing. It's a simple folder. Inside that, a simple form.xml. Java multi modules. Any name you can give. Usually, this is for practice he is giving, but in the real time, it looks something different. This is going to be your module name. So inside that module name, we will have sub projects. So password is one project. Now we have src target form.xml file. Password -md5. We have another project src target form.xml. But the module folder, right, will not have any src, because it is a simple form.xml file. Inside this form.xml file, what we will have, we will have this section, module 1, 2, 3, 4. How many number of projects you want to create inside that module, that is going to be present. So to build all these projects, password or password MD5, password SHA web, right? We no need to run individually. If you just run the parent, this module form.xml file, it will build all the projects which are present inside that module. So we will have some kind of grouping. Actually, why we go for this multi-module, we usually have, we will get the benefit of grouping. So one, like similar projects can be grouped inside one module. For example, last example we saw, right? Bank is going to have multiple projects, right? So you can group them with the help of module. But anyway, we don't do that with microservices, because microservices are completely individual. They cannot have any dependency with any other project. Okay. So, but you must have an idea. Okay. But you must have an idea. I will check why I cannot able to create that with this Eclipse. Okay. I will check this. And before we stop the session, in the last session, whenever we are discussing annotations, right? We saw that annotation element type field, and this can be added on any field, right? This can be added on any field. So that time I'm trying to make this as private, but we couldn't able to run this program, right? So actually, you can't directly access the private fields. So first what we need to do, first we load all the fields which are present inside a class, and we need to change the scope. So for that we need to change the set accessible to. So when you change set accessible true, then that field will become private to public. Then you can get the object of field and get the annotation and process it. So without this, you cannot process private annotations. You will get an exception. No such field exception, because it is private. I don't know whether you remembered or not remembered. I supposed to show this yesterday, but I forgot. Okay, we tried this private. First we tried with private. Then we got this exception. So then I changed it to public, but it's supposed to be private only. So what we have to do, first you have to get the declared field and change the scope from private to public. Then you get the field object and get the annotation information and process the annotation. This is what you have to do. Okay, so with this code we will run. Private name, okay, clean, what happened? Field name, Name, get annotation, at what line number you are using, line number 44. It's a name only, right? Just class 1, correct only. The name we have. Okay. Can you try to resolve this issue? Okay. Can you try to resolve this issue? I shared this code through GitHub. Okay. Try to run this program. Most probably it will work. It worked for me that time. I don't know now why it is not. This seems to be my Eclipse got corrupted. I will check this. Okay. Why I am not able to create Maven module project. So there are some errors are coming. I think something wrong with Eclipse. I will just check this and let you know tomorrow. Okay, so before we wind up the session, we are done with Maven. Any questions we have? So today's assignment is creating the parent form, right? Creating the parent form. So that is going to be today's assignment. I will send you an email. I will share group ID, artifact ID, okay? And try to create a Maven module also, but that is completely optional. But you must have an idea. So any questions? I know today is such a boring session. Most of the things are theory, right? Not that much interaction happen. But from tomorrow,
Sunil, I have a question for you.
yeah.
Like we are adding dependencies, right? More dependencies we are adding.
Mm.
Like if how can we find whether these dependencies we are using in our project or not? If we are adding more dependencies without using, will it cause any performance issue?
It won't cause any performance issue, but the size of your output file, whenever we are talking with respect to microservices, the output file is jar file. So you create a fat jar file. So your jar file size will go. That's it. It is just matter of size.
Size of the jar.
That's it. So performance wise, there is no impact. Even JVM memory point of view also, there is no impact, because the JVM will load the classes on demand. So there is no impact. The only problem is your size of output file, either it is a jar file, WAR file, or VR file, that size will grow. That's it. It is going to be some KBs in size there. So I don't think so that is big deal for real time. But most of the times, if you don't use the dependencies, don't add them. Okay, and while creating the parent, you have to be very careful. You have to define the dependencies which are going to be used commonly. Which are not common, then don't put them in the parent. So you have to, while you are writing parent, you have to be very careful. So you have to make sure what are all the common dependencies and what is the common configuration and what is the common plugins we are going to use across our project. Okay, so that is what the thing we have to keep in mind and write a parent project. But most probably we don't do that anymore. It's going to be done by one person. It's going to be used by the entire team. So if you get a chance to work to create a parent form, don't hesitate. Go ahead and create. It is a simple Maven project. It is a very simple Maven project, but we will keep these things. What configuration wise, you have to be very careful about the configuration and dependency management. You can talk to your senior architects or senior managers with your team and take the decision and add those dependencies. Okay, so creating parent form is not such a big deal. It is a simple project. It is simple Maven project, but you should be in a position to identify what is common for all your modules. You have to keep that you have to keep that configuration, and you have to keep those dependencies. Otherwise, all your child projects will become uh, heavyweight, right? Fat jar files, they will be fat jar files.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Nana. Any other questions? Make sure you will do today's assignment. Okay, you will do the today's assignment, creating parent form. Maybe in the future you will get that opportunity, so be ready for that. Any other questions? Any other questions with respect to Maven?
Understanding.
Okay, yeah. So like this, there are so many features are available with Maven. I covered which is very important for learning microservices. To learn more about Maven, go to Apache tutorial, Apache official site. Okay, so here is the place you can learn about the complete information about man. But whatever we learned is far, far, far enough to build a microservice. This knowledge is far enough. But if you want to learn more about Maven, just go to this site and okay, just go to the uh, concepts, right? So I think most of the things we learn, right? Central repository, developer center, right? And plugin management, dependency management. They will uh, have the same parent form, plugins, multi modules. Okay. There is something called documentation. Yeah, this is the section you have to go through. Maven plugins, index, user center, plugin developer center. Um, So this is the section you have to go to. Okay. Yeah. So this is all about Maven. So from tomorrow we will start our microservices journey. So we're going to start with Spring Boot. Okay. Spring Boot. So this is the documentation I'm going to use for Spring Boot. The official site is spring.io. So here are the projects which Spring supports. So Spring Boot, one out of them. There are around 16 projects, I believe, Spring supporting now. Okay, so there are community versions and there are few versions. There are few projects they are going to retain, but Spring Boot is not going to retain. So this is what the documentation. So we are going to follow reference document. First Spring IO project, Spring Boot, learn reference document. Spring Boot provides super documentation. I love this. So we are going to learn this documentation. So here is the steps, very high level index. So this part will help us to understand what is going to be present in the documentation. So getting help, there is getting started, using Spring Boot, first steps, working with Spring Boot, right, moving to production, advanced topics. So this is the kind of roadmap. Then we all start with using Spring Boot. Using Spring Boot. Yeah. So for very first time, it will make you confused, but once we go through all this documentation, then you can become expertise in this documentation. So to learn particular concept, which module you want to touch, that you will be knowing after a couple of days. We will start with this Spring Boot, and we will go through the features of Spring Boot only. Okay, features of Spring Boot. So here we will have all these modules like core, profiles, logging, web, MVC, data JPA, and testing, reactive programming, okay, and security, AOP. So we will learn this documentation only. But we won't go very deep. We will learn the concepts actually. Okay, we will learn the concept. Like most probably we will be learning 50% in my training. You guys will be learning 50%. Remaining 50%, those are very advanced and very rarely used concepts. So I will let you know how to go through the remaining 50%. And tomorrow, if they release any new version, right? If they release any new version, how we gonna upgrade that version also, I will let you know. Right? So once you learn and you don't want to stop learning Spring, because Spring will release new versions, how the Java is releasing new versions. Okay, but from tomorrow we will learn Spring Boot. Yeah, with this we will be done. I mean, we are done with all the prerequisites. Java fundamentals, Maven, we are done. From tomorrow we will go on and learn the actual uh, microservices. So when I say microservices, not microservices, because microservice to learn microservices, Spring Boot is the prerequisite. So first you learn Spring Boot, right? These are the things are mandatory. Java, Maven, and Project Lombat. So these are the prerequisites for microservices development. So once we become expertise in these all areas, so learning microservice, I mean building microservices is a piece of cake. Any more questions, guys? Yeah, today I took a lot of time. Sorry. Any more questions? I think no questions. Okay, guys. See you tomorrow.
Okay,
Thank you.
Sunny. Thank you, Sunny.
Yeah.
Thanks, Sunil.
So
Bye. Bye. Bye.